Welcome to the Contractor Success Forum. Today we are talking about things that we do after Profit First is in place. At the Contractor Success Forum, we discuss financial strategies for running a more profitable, successful construction business. And we have in one corner Stephen Brown, a construction bond agent with McDaniel Whitley Bonding, an insurance agency with over 3 decades of experience underwriting and placing bonds. It's amazing. If a 30-year-old, he started at birth. And in the other corner, we have Wade Carpenter with Carpenter and Company CPAs, helping contractors nationwide to become permanently profitable, also for over 30 years. And I am Rob Williams, your profit strategist with Iron Gate Entrepreneurial Support Systems, driving profit in your businesses with decades of vertical integration as a contractor, manufacturer, aviator, and financial strategist in the construction industry. So, guys, what do we do, Wade, after we put Profit First in place? Or Stephen, wait a minute, maybe even better. Stephen, have you ever wondered what we do?
I really do. A lot of people in the surety industry trying to educate them and contractors on the idea of business coaches. But it's not just a business coach, it's a plan that you buy into that's very successful. And a lot of accountants like you, Wade, are sold on this being a great method of teaching people how to run their business. So, yeah, what do you do, guys? Someone wants your services, they want coaching, they want to take their business to the next level. What do you do?
Or they want a profit strategist.
Well, I know you love saying that. And, I'm sure it gives our listeners goosebumps.
Yeah.
But, wondering what a profit strategist is
Oh, what a
is,
question. What a
is a
great question.
great question.
Yeah.
Let's start there. What is a profit strategist, Wade?
Well, I know maybe Rob and I have different definitions of what
I'm
that
sorry,
is.
maybe should have asked Rob what a profit
Well,
strategist is.
yeah, but you know, as far as like today, a lot of people will put profit first in place, and they'll set the numbers and they'll set their taps, whatever, and they stick with it, and they think they're supposed to stick with those percentages forever. And honestly, every quarter you should be taking a look at those percentages, and a lot of people forget that sometimes it takes a year and a half to 2 years to really get your numbers where they need to be. Every quarter you should be looking at that, but it's also, I use it for looking at like, where have I gone? What's my strategy going to be? And especially at year end, that's the time to take a real hard look at what are we doing and what should we be doing differently.
A lot of people have December 31st year end financial statements, and December 31st, when we're talking about year end, it's the time to start measuring these things, isn't it?
Yeah,
So,
because
Rob, what do you do with a new client?
well, where I'm thinking about, there's different times of year we're thinking about the end of the year right now, but really what I was thinking about when you have it is you get their numbers and you get the whole Profit First in place so they can start seeing what it is they need to do. And that's great. And that people think that's the whole thing, but really that's the starting point. And you do, yeah, we go through the things like efficiencies and cutting expenses and looking at all that, but that's still kind of the first spot. Then you kind of run out. But then we start looking at things like what is their sweet spot? What is their niche? So we do sales analyses of their clients and ranking them under a bunch of different factors. And it's not always the same, but a lot of times you put the revenue and maybe the cringe factor. Are there clients out there that you just you just cringe every time the phone rings? And how much is that costing you in overhead and the rest of your organization, or your just mental dealing with things and your mental effort with that client? So we rank those and we look at that, and we look at, where do those align with your unique offering. So I get first, you rank those and you try to get the most profitable clients, and then you kind of prune the vine of the ones that are really destroying your profits, that are taking up all the resources for the least amount of revenue and gross profit in the middle. Because a lot of times it's not just that gross profit line, it's all the things that don't go into job cost. And commercial contractors tend to allocate a lot of their overhead to things, so they might have a better perspective. But a lot of companies just have all of their expenses in the expense category, which is a huge part in their gross margin does not really reflect the true cost of the job. So you look at all those indirect costs, non-commercial contractors don't ever allocate to the jobs. And then you look at that, you look at your unique offerings, what is it that makes you unique? And you systematize your systems around that unique offering. That was a real quick outline of what we do, the way I look at it. So, and there are a lot of other things. I'm not the CPA, the bookkeeper, so we have a little different way of looking at that. Boy, I went through that really fast.
I got some thoughts on that too, but Stephen, you want to comment on anything we said?
Oh, I, I was just going to say, a lot of times when you're working, you just don't realize how those bad clients of yours are affecting you. And when I fire a bad client, they just jump on my back and they're hugging my neck and they're saying, "I'll never let you go." And I'm saying, "Yes, yes, you will. Yes, you will." And having someone else help you sort through that is a big plus. But it's all about honing that sweet spot, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is. So how can you be more efficient and handle many, many more of your best clients? And then you usually doing them a favor because there's probably a reason that they're your worst client. They're probably a best client for somebody else, and the way their business structure is formed that it's a better fit for that
Right.
client.
Yeah, for me, Rob brought out a ton of points on what he was talking about there.
Yeah, I
We can,
bullet
I
pointed
think
that
we could
part.
kind of talk about several of those things, but I wanted to kind of spend a few minutes because I'm in my third year of doing Profit First. And we recently came through it. We did our year end planning podcast a few weeks ago. And I'm here looking at my numbers for it's in November right now. And I went through my recertification process with Profit First. And part of that was I had to do a profit assessment on my own business. And obviously, I know what the percentages I brought them up to, but when I put the numbers in there, it was amazing to me. For 20 years, I've reinvested everything back into my business. Now I look at the profit, and I do have some things to. We've added 2 new team members this year. I've increased my take home pay quite a bit. One of the things that I'm really proud of is that I've had this home equity loan that we did some improvements on my house about 15 years ago and paid the interest or just a little bit above that. And it was sitting at $65,000 at the beginning of the year. I'm paying that thing off this month.
Right.
So it's just stuff like that that just makes me feel really good about finally taking the profit that I'm deserved. And for the first time in my life, I'm also going to fully fund my retirement plan for this year.
Wow.
And so
Great.
that's where I've every year, every quarter, I try to take a different look at it. But I'm sitting down and saying, what am I doing different next year? Some of the things Rob's talking about, like pruning clients. You wouldn't believe how, yes, it seems like I'm gonna lose some revenue, but when you pick it up and you replace it with some great new clients, it can make a huge difference. And I'm going into next year with 4 months of operating cash in my bank, and I've never had that. And it's a completely different turnaround, and I know it feels great. And I also have been revisiting this with a lot of my clients. And we started them on got them on the path of profit first, but maybe for whatever reason, they did their own thing. They set their percentages and they haven't touched them since. And for me, moving these percentages every quarter, looking at it, so that's changing my strategy. So that's a long winded answer, but number one becomes very motivating. When you're winning, it's very motivating. And so
I
that's
think
what I want to talk about.
that's a great answer, Wade. It really is. What's the purpose of doing anything if you can't measure it and see results from it? That's a hard thing to do on your own, I think.
Yeah, you get tunnel vision, and I look after everybody else's stuff, but sometimes you got to sit down and look at your own stuff. And
Right.
sometimes it takes somebody else. Hey, you have accomplished something. We're paying. I could go on, but like our tax software, a couple $20,000 a year. Usually, I'm paying that in arrears. We
Hmm.
funded next year already. We've already paid for it in advance.
Well, it'll be 30,000 next year, but that's great.
Yeah, well, that's true. So I'll shut up, but I do think that I'd love to kind of explore some of the things Rob jumped into.
No, you made a great point, and I do tend to a lot of times start talking about the tool instead of what they're accomplishing because, yeah, I just wrote some notes in there. Yeah, adjusting the percentages. Yeah, I don't wanna skip over that. That's the big thing. I guess when you're implementing profit first, what Wade is talking about is better for us to talk about because that's why you're doing these things. That's the whole point of it. The point of it is not to change your customers and prune and get the systems in place. The point is to adjust the percentages and put more money in your pocket. That is exactly it. And those are the whys you do that. And so I like that Wade started with that. That makes a lot more sense. Uh, and you paying yourself, and Wade's going way ahead now. But in those first ones, are they paying their taxes? That's usually the big first thing. It's either they're paying themselves or they're paying their taxes. That's the big first thing that you're trying to get at once you put profit first in place. And
Yeah.
the plan, yeah, it's not to do those other things I said. It is to get that objective done that that client wants. That's what you need to put first. I'll say it again, pay your taxes in advance as you
Mhm.
get the money with the money that you earned, not with next year's money. That's usually the first step. And then bring that money home to yourself instead of reinvesting it in the business, which we know that's really just an expense. It just sounds
Yeah.
better when you say reinvesting it in your business.
Yeah. It's my third year of doing this. I guess I forgot that point because I've already got my taxes paid for next year and I got more money in the tax account than I need.
Great.
And so stuff like that, it's a burden I took off my plate 2 years ago when I first started Profit First. And I guess I forget some of those intangible things, but I'm not waiting to see if there's cash in the bank for me to take a paycheck home and me take the leftovers. And I've said it before, a lot of my contractors on here, sometimes their receptionist takes home more money than they do. And it's sad.
One of the other points that Wade just alluded to, but I like to call it adding meaning to your money or lifestyle congruence is one of the drills. It's not really in Profit First, but it sort of is mentioned. And I like to go there is taking the formula of doing your personal budgets and figuring out how much money do you really need to have and where would that money go. And that is one big thing that I've been doing for myself this year. Wade was just talking about that is I've got it all prioritized down, and then I'll know first where I am and then what revenue do I need to make to bring this much home. I'm looking at it at a weekly or a monthly basis, even after I look at the annual to see how much that is I need to manage. And that's how much revenue I need to get. I can't believe that I didn't know how much revenue, if I made the profit first percentages, how much revenue I even need to bring home. Because what is your target revenue? Because I think it might even be 100% of the people, Wade, I don't know about you, that they all have a goal and it's always a revenue goal and it ends in 6 zeros somewhere. It's either 1,000,000
Yep.
or 2,000,000 or 5,000,000 or 10,000,000. And it's not a profit goal. It's not a goal to bring home. So I know for me this year, my big transition has been to have a take home pay goal is the most important thing, which is a different way of saying profit, but profit on a tax basis is different than take home pay. And so having that take home pay goal, and then where does your business need to be? So you're really adding a lot of meaning to the goal. And where I'm getting that, I feel like I'm rambling a little bit, but the point was I always had some ego goal for my revenue. And then when I got in the middle of the year, things would happen and I wouldn't make it. This is when I was in construction and manufacturing. It just didn't, it's like, okay, well, I don't know why I picked 15 million or 10 million or whatever. It's just a random goal. So it didn't really mean anything when we weren't making it other than it was a company goal on a piece of paper. So having that goal mean that you can't pay for your kid's school or you can't do these other things and you know where you are with that. And when you have the increase, it may mean what Wade's saying, fully funding your retirement accounts or your retirement plan. I think that that's where I'm looking at. I need to put more into that phase of mine right now. So I'm trying to push that. I don't think people realize that we look at that stuff as a profit first professional. They just see these first goals, but we really try to add meaning to that and make that lifestyle congruence. That's the word that Mike uses Is your business congruent with your lifestyle, and are they matching each other? Your personal goals and your company financial goals in alignment with each other. Did that mean anything, Stephen?
Yeah. Well, to me, it's all about bling, you know that, and living lifestyle of the rich and famous.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm
Champagne
gonna
and
go.
caviar dreams or wishes. What
I'm
was that
gonna
show?
go backwards from there. No, you made some really good points, and I appreciate it because I feel like I'm the profit first outsider when I'm with you two, and it's important to me as passionate as you are and the feedback you've gotten from your clients about how you've been able to help them. I think it's important that people understand what's out there and what's available for them.
When you feel like you're winning, you start momentum and it builds. And we talk about when you're first trying to get kicked off, you're cutting expenses and you try to figure out how in the world can I do that. But once you got the cash in the bank, I talked about paying the software early. Well, I saved $2,000 overall next year doing that. And not to mention a lot of other fees. There was some other stuff that some payroll software stuff like that that we paid ahead, and I'm probably going to save about $7,000 by doing that next year.
Wow.
It, I really hate to say it this way, but when you got cash, you can take advantage of opportunities you never had before or you never thought. Because this time of year, a lot of my contractors are thinking not just how can I take something home for my, pay for Christmas, but how am I going to pay my employees bonuses? They deserve a bonus this year. We're scraping and scrapping just to come up with that bonus money. And so it's really nice to sit there and say, I've got some money in the bank. What can I do? Whether it's going to put it in marketing, and you got a little extra time to like say, where have I been spending my money and what have I been going after? And it quite frankly is kind of nice that we like to say we like all our clients, but not all our clients are good clients. Sometimes we have bad clients,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's a little bit satisfying, if I can say that on the show,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
get rid of some of these bad clients.
And your time is money.
Yeah.
One thing that you just said there, Wade, it's interesting. You identify who are the good clients and who are the bad clients in terms of business, because some of them, it's actually, I can think of one client that was one of my favorite clients, but business wise, it was not a good client. It was not a good thing. I was definitely using all my resources and going after that and not charging more and more. Maybe it's because I did enjoy that client. I liked that client a lot and I spent probably more time. We were really good friends and did those things. But in terms of a business proposition, if I went back and looked at the hours I spent in it, it was less than McDonald's pay. I need that $15 an hour raise to get to that point. So there's good clients and bad clients, and then sometimes it doesn't match. Well, it's opposite of the cringe factor sometimes. So can you change that relationship, or does it have to go?
I mean,
Well, as far as getting started with some coaching and with some help, they say when's the best time to plant an oak tree, and it's 20 years ago. And when's the second best time to plant an oak tree is right now. So I think that's a good way of looking at it. You can talk about woulda, shoulda, coulda all day long, but right now, what can you do today?
Yep.
So we're hoping our listeners can get upbeat about this and get excited
Yeah.
about the future. And that's what we're all about.
All right. Well, did this help, Stephen? We'll use you as rep. Did this help give a little bit more of a clear picture?
I just want to start a construction company so I can hire you guys, but I thought I thought it was fantastic. I think it was some good information that people need to know.
yeah.
Wade, you got
Yeah. I also would say anybody on here, there's a lot of people that we talk about profit first, and not everybody buys into it. I know Steven said something about accountants. Accountants are the biggest ones that say this is horrible. If you go on Amazon and say this is stupid and this doesn't work, well, I'm here to tell you it does work. So if you're a contractor on this thing, reach out to one of us. A lot of people say I'm too far in debt. I'm in the hole now. I can't take 1% profit. Well, it's got to start somewhere. Exactly what Stephen was saying. You got to start somewhere. And once it builds that momentum, look out.
Yep, that's great.
Well,
Wonderfully
yeah.
said. All right. Well, this has been a wonderful episode of the Contractor Success Forum. And if you like the show, go rate us. And it actually, that will help us out a lot. If we want to get the word out to other people, the best way you can thank us is to rate the show. If you can figure it out. And Stephen, that was hard to figure out, wasn't it, the other day? You got to go all the way down to
You
the
go to
bottom of the
our
episode.
like Apple Podcast link and then scroll down the bottom where it's almost at the bottom. It's kind of right up near the bottom, and then it says rate us.
Yeah.
It's a simple process. It's
Five
a simple process.
stars.
You're not going to get 15 surveys by rating us, and we're not going to spend 2 hours of your time, but we would appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank you guys. And we are the Contractor Success Forum, and we have Wade Carpenter, Carpenter and Company CPAs, and Stephen Brown with McDaniel Whitley Bonding Agency. And I am Rob Williams, Iron Gate Entrepreneurial Support System. If you want to get in touch with us, look at the show notes. We have a webpage, contractorsuccessforum.com. Thanks for being here today, and we'll see you next time.